Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bourbon Bar. Boy, has it been a hectic afternoon, but we are here finally, and I am excited to be here with you guys. So everyone who's here, hey, what's up? Welcome to it. How's it going on this fine evening? Just a little story before we get started here. I'll put this backwards so you guys can see my face better. And yes, I am wearing glasses. But I was driving on the way home I was golfing earlier today, and I was on the way home, and I got stuck on the highway. It was actually right when I was getting on the on-ramp, and there was just lines and lines and lines of cars. And I turned on the highway by mistake, and I was stuck there for 30 minutes, and then I ended up having to rush through everything. I almost ran out of gas. It was a whole big thing, very hectic, and eventually I made it home, luckily. But now, after the stress of all that, I think it's time for me to make a drink. But we're going to start off by saying what's up to everyone in the chat. So far, we have Sugar Kitty. What's up, Sugar Kitty? How's it going today? And let's go ahead and pour something because like I said, need a drink. So basically what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be doing some blending. And this is something I've never really dabbled into, but I think it would be fun. A lot of times, you don't want to go keep buying new whiskey every day, but you have a gazillion opportunities to make something completely unique and interesting to try and taste, and why not experience that? Sugar Kitty says my mic is cutting in and out. Is that better? I'm sorry if it is. I hope that I can fix it somehow. Let me know if that's better. Because if it's not, I don't really know what to do because I don't have any other mic. I could unplug it. That would just be my camera's audio, which would not be ideal. But yeah, I may have to. It is what it is. But so far, we're going to go ahead and start by pouring a little Brothers Bond into my Glen, because this is one thing that I'm going to be blending tonight. Does it help if I just talk louder? Like, if I talk like this the rest of the time, is that going to be easier for you to hear? Or, I guess, actually, hold on. Bear with me for a second. There, I think I felt a little click in there, so let's hope that worked. Let me know if it's fixed or not, please, Sugar Kitty. Thank you for letting me know. I think it was just unplugged a little bit on the aux, so I plugged it in a little bit. But anyway, basically what I'm going to be doing tonight is doing a little blending, and I'm going to start off with Brothers Bond because this is one that I love, but I've always kind of wished I had a little bit more too. Super easy drinker, super low proof, definitely just crushable, easy to drink whiskey. But one thing that I always wanted to see is if I could keep the same core Brothers Bond notes and amp it up a little bit, add a little proof, add a little pizzazz, maybe a little bit of other flavors in it. I know they're going to be coming out with some Brothers Bond cask strength very soon. I thought it was supposed to be this month, but I'm not entirely sure. So, still happening, you say? Well, this is not ideal. I have some technical difficulties. Sorry for everyone who's watching. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna unplug it. Plug it back in. There, I think that's all I got. Please let me know if that doesn't fix it. I might just unplug the mic and see if that's better. If you can hear me better that way. Otherwise, we're gonna have to bear with it tonight. And I'm gonna have to get a new mic for next week, which would be not ideal. But I think it's one of these days. It's gonna be time for me to get a new camera. So it is what it is. But we're gonna go ahead and get started with this Brothers Bond here. So for those of you who don't know, the notes are very Okay, so the volume's a little bit low, but otherwise I fixed it. That's awesome. I'll just speak up a little bit. Thank you so much, Sugar Kitty, for putting that in there. All right, now we can get on with the video, and I can remember what I was saying. So basically, I'm gonna be doing some blending, and like I said previously, I love Brothers Bond. And I love what Brothers Bond has to offer. It's just a little bit light for me, so I'm gonna try blending it with some Old Forester 1920 and see if that does anything. And then I'm gonna taste it and see what kind of notes I'm missing, and then I'm going to be just adding a couple other things, maybe blending some other things. I kind of wanted to see if I could balance out the cinnamon note in wild turkey and um, mix and match, make something unique with the wild turkey and some other ones that I had, or maybe take one of the whiskeys I didn't like as much and blend something in that I do like. So I'm just going to be doing some experimenting here tonight. And I'm kind of going to be going along and explaining what I'm doing. But first things first is this Brothers Bond. Super banana phosphor, bread, like fresh bread, banana bread notes. Just a little bit of caramel, not a whole lot to it. Some decent oak on it, but overall, very nice. Super rich banana on the palate. Really easy to drink. And it's like I said, one of my favorite whiskeys ever. But what I usually get out of 1920 is kind of like a cherry chocolate, like cherry cocoa, very oaky and some extra proof. And I think that'll mix nicely with the Brothers Bond. So we're just gonna be doing a little bit of that. Charleston Moore says, "What's your top 5 bourbons of all time? No order. Top 5 bourbons of all time. Brothers Bond is one of them. I know it seems silly, but if I didn't have Brothers Bond, I wouldn't have my daily drinking whiskey. That's the whiskey that I reach for every time that I'm drinking normal whiskey. Don't want to be anything special, just something I really enjoy the palate of, and I just think it's a really well-rounded bourbon. So Brothers Bond is definitely on the list. I'd have to say that the Bookers that I've had, the 2021-04 batch, which is no strangers, that one is really great. I liked that one a lot. Bardstown Discovery 6 I thought was phenomenal, so that's probably in there. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch C921 is in there, and Larceny Barrel Proof batch C921 is in there as well. So I believe that is all of them. Special mention, I would like to say that Penelope Architect is awesome as well, and Maker's Mark FAEO2 is awesome, and New Earth Malted Rye is fantastic. So among all those whiskeys, I know that's like 8, but there's 5 in there somewhere. So if that helps you, let me know. What's your list? Let me know what your list is, and I'll see if I've ever had any of them or what I think of the ones on your list. But we're going to go ahead and pour this 1920 into a Glen. And I actually have a little cheap little pipette little thing here that I can use to add more precise measurements to the glasses. Not that this is going to be an overly precise thing, but I kind of want to be able to really get a science behind this. So if I find something I really enjoy, I can recreate it now and then. So in this Glen, I'm honestly not entirely sure how much we have, but I'm going to get into third Glen, and we're going to put these 2 over here, like that, right in front of the other. We're going to go 2 milliliters of Brothers Bond, and we're going to go 1 milliliter of Old Forester 1920. So I did that because I don't want the Old Forester to overpower the Brothers Bond. I didn't want to do a straight 2-to-1 right away because that would really up the proof, really up. It would probably really overpower what Brothers Bond is bringing to the table. I think that Old Forester 1920 is a great whiskey, and there's a reason why everyone loves it, and it's because it's kind of just filled with flavors. But I'm really trying to make Brothers Bond into that caliber, but I don't want the 1920 to cut the Brothers Bond completely out of the equation. Sugar Kitty says, I'm finishing some scotch at the moment, but I have the Architect right next to me after that. Yes, Architect is fantastic. I honestly, great review from me because I thought it was great. The scientists out there in the whiskey land appreciate the pipette. Well, it is just a super cheap pipette, but I was actually watching Sean and Dan on Bourbon Junkies, and they had like that super fancy like electric pipette and a proofometer, and they were doing like the proof thing. That was cool, but I'm definitely not that fancy. So, you know, I'm gonna go a little bit more. So I'm doing one more milliliter of the 1920, and I'm gonna go another 2 millimeters of the Brothers Bond because it wasn't really enough to swirl it around the glass and get enough of a read from. But now we have both in the glass. So what I'm hoping to keep that super banana note from the Brothers Bond. And I know that the Old Forester 1920 can sometimes have a banana note as well to some people, like a lot of Old Foresters do, and a lot of like Jack Daniels' Brown-Forman products do. But for me personally, I get more of like a cherry chocolate note and a little bit of like an oak influence from the Old Forester. And those are the things that I'm hoping get added to the Brothers Bond because I love the Brothers Bond, but it is super light. And I'm looking for just a little bit of those dark notes like the oak and the chocolatey in there. Okay, I can definitely get the chocolate. So that is coming through. A bit more proofy, but honestly, like it seems to be turning out pretty well. I'm not getting a whole lot of that oak tannins. I would say a little bit more on the caramely note and the chocolatey note for sure. The cherries are kind of in there, but the banana's still coming through, which I'm enjoying. I like the banana from the Brothers Bond. So on the nose, very good. Sugar Kitty says the junkies are just chasing Adriana on Whiskey Mountains, the real scientist. Oh yes, Adriana is pretty awesome, so I imagine that she's probably showing those guys up. But Charleston Moore says I'm pretty new to the bourbon, to be honest, but I've only tried about 10. My top is Brothers Bond, Woodford Reserve, Elijah Craig, small batch, and I want to try Elijah Craig barrel proof. Well, I'm glad to see that Brothers Bond made your list because I personally think, especially for beginners, that it's fantastic. He said the Woodford is Woodford double oaked. So, but yeah, those are all great whiskeys. In fact, they're all ones that I consistently go to and drink quite often. Brothers Bond I drink the most, but between Elijah Craig Small Batch and Woodford Reserve, if I just want a nice easy sipper, just like kind of on the days where I don't want to be drinking cask strength, those are the things I reach for. So awesome list. And yes, if you can get an ECBP, that would be something that I think you would like a lot, especially if you're liking the flavor notes on the other ones on your list. So, Biking Bourbon, howdy, welcome to it. How's it going tonight? And what are you drinking? Let me know. Whiskey Wars is in the house. Sean, how's it going? Cheers. Thanks for stopping in. I know you said that you are usually busy on these nights, but I'm glad to see you're here. And if you're drinking anything, put it in the chat. Let me know what you're sipping on. Otherwise, thanks for just stopping in and saying, hey, I appreciate that a lot. So if you guys missed it, what I'm doing is doing some blending. My love for Brothers Bond is still strong, but I do appreciate a little bit of a higher proof and a darker notes. So I decided to mix it with a close relative, Old Forester 1920, where I can get a little bit more of proof, a little bit more of the oak and chocolate notes, and just add a little bit of something to the Brothers Bond and bring it up a level. So that's what I've been doing. And so far on the nose, it has been very nice. I got a lot more of that, like a chocolatey aspect and a little bit of proof in there. But I still kept the super banana and bread notes from the Brothers Bond. The one thing that it didn't get to me yet is that oakiness. I did not get any oak, so I'm gonna go ahead and try it on the palate and see if I notice anything there. Otherwise, maybe I'll up the ante on the Old Forester 1920 and see if I can even it out a little bit. Oh. Okay. Okay. So the nose, wildly different, right? The palate, however, is, I don't want to say better, but at the same time, it's not worse. It definitely has some more spice in there. Coming off, it's, I believe it's proof, not any kind of like baking spice or anything like that. But if I were to say a baking spice, I would put it closer to the nutmeg territory. And I want to say that the banana completely killed out of it. The chocolatey note, though, from the like the cocoa powder from the Old Forester, definitely coming through. Maybe a little bit of oak on the palate too, actually. A little bit of oak spice. So um, that seems to be about close to what I was looking for, except the palate just wasn't blowing me away. And I'm not sure if it was the lack of meshing that's going on in the whiskey, or if there's too much going on that's fighting each other. But I think I'm gonna polish this off and then do a 1-to-1 ratio of the Brothers Bond and Old Forester 1920, because this one I did basically 2-to-1 ratio, two of the Brothers Bond, one of the Old Forester 1920. So yeah, okay. The banana note's still up front. The banana note is up front, and it's chased down with like a tart cherry cocoa, just really chocolatey, really interesting. But like I said, I want to get a little bit more of that oak on the nose, and I want to get a little bit more of a better meshing palette. It seems like they're fighting each other a little bit, and I'm not sure how much I enjoy that. Um, Sugar Kitty says, I think Woodford Reserve Double Oak is the best thing they make. How have you tried Michter's American? It is sweet like candy and it is good companion to Woodford Double Oak. I personally haven't tried Michter's American. I know you're talking to Charleston, but I have heard great things about it, and I would agree that Woodford Double Oak is a phenomenal offering from the Woodford Reserve lineup. So ECBP is always there. I've got the C90, probably C920, I'm guessing, as a definite top bottle for me. Yeah, so I actually got into the bourbon game later, kind of when the ECBPs were being dubbed less good, which would be last year's picks, and then the beginning of this year. There's a lot of controversy, but I know in the 2020 that had some of the best ECBPs ever, according to a lot of people. But I personally haven't been able to taste any of them, so I'll take your word that if what you meant was C920, that is the best for you. I'll take your word that it's going to be good whiskey. Um, Whiskey Wars says church in 15 minutes, so no drinking right now, but probably afterwards. Hey, cheers. And maybe you can get a little bit of wine at your church. I'm not sure if on a Tuesday night. Is that like a mass or is it like a class? My church doesn't do Tuesday night mass, but they do some classes, I think, on like Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So, but awesome. Good for you, man. Something else to try might be 1792 Full Proof. That has a touch of banana type flavor. Should help the proof. You're absolutely right about that. And I do have it right on the top shelf. And that's a good note. I'm gonna probably add that to the next one that I do. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and do it right now. So I'm gonna do 2 milliliters of the Brothers Bond. And I did finish that glass, so there was nothing left in it. And then I'm going to go with another Glen because I'm going to have probably a lot of dirty Glens tonight. But in the third Glen, I'm going to put 1792 Full Proof, as Sugar Kitty suggested. And we're going to see if that adds a little bit of that banana flavor. I do normally get like a kind of sweet, almost maple syrupy note from the 1920, at least my 1920, or 17. Sorry, my 1792. I get kind of a maple syrupy sweetness. So I got 2 milliliters of Brothers Bond bourbon in the Glen, and now I'm gonna add. We're just gonna go ahead and go straight to a 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm gonna add 2 milliliters of Full Proof 1792. We're gonna go ahead and give that a little swirl in the Glen, a little nosing action here. Okay, that seemed to blend so much better. I'll tell you guys how I'm feeling about it after I get through a couple of these comments and get caught up here. But first reaction seems to blend a little bit better, almost a little bit more sweet. That maple syrup, that I normally get on 1792 kind of came in, but you still have a hint of that banana in there. Doesn't seem too overpowering. And there, I think because the 1792 has a little bit of that banana, it kind of kept it there, but it open up a little bit more nuances, I think, than normal 1792 full proof. So, how do you like Old Forester 1910 in comparison to 1920? What are the major differences on the palate? Well, I personally have not had 1910, or maybe I have in a bar, but what I know from it is that it is it's a toasted barrel, so it's going to be a lot like Woodford Double Oaked, except maybe not. I always say there's kind of like a Woodford funk that a lot of the Woodfords bring, and I don't think that I don't think that the 1910 would have as much of that funkiness that I get in Woodford, but I'm not entirely sure. So there's that. But I think between the two of them, I think 1910 is going to be easier to drink, sweeter. It's going to have almost like a toasted marshmallow, like a lot of the finished or double barreled offerings are. It's going to be sweet, brown sugar, toasted marshmallow, toasted caramel, stuff like that. Just really nice. It's going to be dark. It's going to be sweet. Whereas in 1920, that was 1910. The 1920 is going to be more of the, first of all, fuller proof. I believe the 1910 is 93. 1920 is 115. So a fuller proof, a little bit more of like an oak spice and a little bit more of cherries, chocolate, and bananas, whereas a lot less of that like super sweet notes, but still has a little bit of that like sweetness in there. Maybe a little bit of tobacco in there too. It's definitely got a fuller feeling on the tongue, mouthfeel. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. You can always catch up on to the other streams later, TGIT. Yes, thank God it is Tuesday. Also, if you guys haven't yet, check out everyone in the chat's channel, Whiskey Wars. I think Biking Bourbon as well. Everyone has channels, so go definitely check them out. Subscribe to them. They're all great people, and I love them all. And thanks to all of them who are hanging out with me tonight. Sugar Kitty says yes, he was talking about 19 or C920. So that's good. B520 and C920 are back-to-back bomb. That's what I've heard. C920 is crazy good. I feel definitely getting FOMO. I feel a little left out, but that's okay. True Sugar Kitty, I'm usually trying to catch up on content from other channels or editing, shooting. Hard for me to find time to sit through lives as much as I would like to. Honestly, man, same. I mean, between just watching people's videos, I always, if I can get a time, I always like to watch, leave a comment, and like and help other channels. I love doing that. I love all the content that everyone's creating. So it's definitely something I like doing. However, especially with it being summer, I'm golfing a lot now. I'm hardly ever home, and actually just finding time to make videos and all this stuff is definitely a lot of running around and very hectic for me. But I do like also trying to catch up on content, but I am very behind right now. More of a stand Bible study tonight. Anyway, liking Blend Live Holden. Thanks a lot, Sean. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this blend on the nose. So this is a 50-50 mix or a 1-to-1 ratio of Brothers Bond Bourbon mixed with 1792 full proof. Sweet, very caramely. Just a slight mapley in it, but a lot of banana. I know I originally said there wasn't, but there's not much in this blend, and I think me sitting there reading the chats allowed it to air it a little bit. Definitely a lot of banana and caramel. I'm getting a surprising amount of caramel on this one. There's a sweet oak in it, which is an improvement from the 1920. This one has a more sweet oak, and it's kind of like, It's one's a lot sweeter than the last one on the nose anyway. That bready note that I get from from Brothers Bond is gone, I believe. Not there, but the banana coming through a lot. A little bit of maple syrup, a lot of caramel. But we're going to go on the palate and see how much the palate has changed. Okay, so banana up front, a lot of banana. A bit of oak spice in it, which is nice. It seems a little hotter. So the full proof is 120 proof, and the Brothers Bond is 80 proof, and I mixed them 50-50. I'm not sure if that comes out to 100 proof. I honestly can't math right now. I can't remember if it's complete ratios or if it's going to be percentages that change when I'm mixing them like this. But yeah, that's nicer. That's nicer than the 1920 was. Definitely super banana still there. Amazing. A little bit of that like funky 4-grain note that I get from the Brothers Bond still there. The 1792 adds like a sweet caramel note to it, but also a lot of the oak spice and oak spiciness that I was really looking for. That was really good. So now I'm going to go 2 ounces of Brothers Bond, and then we're going to go 2 ounces of the 1920, because I know I said I was going to do that earlier, and I think it's only fair since I did a 50-50 mix of the 1792 and Brothers Bond. I can only compare it to a 50-50 mix of Brothers Bond with 1920. If you guys have ever done anything like this, let me know what you've tried and how it's worked out, because this is pretty interesting to me. I buy a lot of whiskey, obviously, but it's always interesting to see what you can make yourself and what you can just have on the shelf that adds a little bit something to it, Banana note faded compared to the 1792 foolproof one. Still there a little bit. This one retains some of that bready note. Yeah, palate still feels lacking. They're fighting each other for sure. Not uber blended like perfectly. I don't think that 1920 is a good mix. However, I do think I've come to the conclusion that 1792 foolproof is definitely the one to mix with Brothers Bond. I think a 50-50 mix between these two is phenomenal. But one thing that I don't think it has a lot of in that mixture is a tobacco-y presence, or like a leathery tobacco-y presence. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take we're going to take 2 ounces of Brothers Bond bourbon, 2 ounces of 1792 foolproof, and then we're going to also add 2 ounces of a very heavily leather and tobacco-y whiskey that I have. And that perfect one to add to this one, in my opinion, is the Remus. Hold on a second. The Remus Repeal Reserve 5. So I think this one is perfect to add to the mix. It's kind of like a very high rye bourbon, I believe it's straight bourbon whiskey. So it's a very high rye bourbon, and what happens is it's super high age whiskey, or not super high age, but like decent. I think there's like 13-year-old, 14-year-old whiskey in here, so definitely going to be a lot more of those darker notes. It's going to have a lot more oak, tobacco, and leather. I do believe there's a lot of rye spice in here too. The only thing I'm concerned about is that it might be a little bit overpowering for the concoction that I have already made. So what I might do is add only half, or 1 milliliter instead of 2 milliliters to it. So that would be a 1 to 1 to half, or a 2 to 2 to 1 ratio on these whiskeys here. So we're going to go ahead and add 1 milliliter of the Remus Repeal Reserve 5. That is 5 for this one. So we're going to go ahead and see how this one shakes out. That's interesting. Okay, well, I guess I can see there's a little bit of that, like, those rye notes coming through. Not, like, over abundantly rye, but, like, on the nose, I can definitely tell that I added a very high rye bourbon to it. I want to try to find the other notes from the other two whiskeys in there. It seems to be blending. It's just a lot going on in the glass right now, so I'm gonna have to um, take a beat. Sugar Kitty says I don't do it a lot, but Bourbon Battalion used to do blending on Wednesdays. He suggested using a weeder like Makers to add chocolate, so I tried ECBP in Makers 101. Very nice 4-grain result. Yeah, that I guess that would make sense. One thing that I love is a 4-grain, so I never even thought about just adding a weeder to a normal bourbon to make a 4-grain of my own. That's actually what they do with Brothers Bond. It's all MGP whiskey, but there's 3 different mash bills that they blend together. One of them is a wheated mash bill, and the other 2 are typical bourbon mash bills, 3-grain. So, and it comes out to, it's undisclosed. They have some of the proportions on there, but it's not completely disclosed. They keep the wheat percentage and the barley percentage to themselves, I believe. So it is blended, though. It's a couple 3-grains blended together to make a 4-grain. I like mixing Scotch better than bourbons, but Burr Ryes are another blending area I like, similar to the results of Lost Marnock. That is a good idea. That's a great idea, in fact. I might end up blending some of my High West double rye into one of my bourbons, or maybe, well, the hard thing is my only 90. Oh, I could add any of my New Riffs, actually. I bet my New Riff malted rye would go great with a bourbon blended in, because it kind of has like this malty note and like these like almost bourbon notes, but at the same time it's got a little bit of floral and eucalyptus and black tea stuff going on in it. So maybe I'll try that next. Hanging AZ, what is up, man? Welcome to it. Thanks for coming and hanging out. What are you drinking tonight, man? How's whiskey journey going for you? But we're gonna go ahead and give you guys some notes on this master blend I have with the Remus and the other 2 whiskeys here. So okay, it almost smells more like that leather is there, but the banana isn't. The banana is just too light of a note in this scenario to stay in the nose. I mean, maybe a little bit of it is still showing through, but I feel like that Remus is really overpowering this. Oh, well, okay, there's a hint of banana. I almost get like a dusty note on there. Definitely some tobacco in this one. A little bit of leather, but still a little bit sweet. That mapley caramel that I get from the 1792 is in the background. It's under those darker notes, under the rye and tobacco-y notes. But we're gonna get this on the palate. The other thing is Remus 5 isn't my favorite whiskey to date. I do think it's great. I mean, it's got a lot to offer. It's very complex. It's good in that sense, but to fit my particular palate, it's just like, I don't know what it is, but the mouth, I like the first on the palate on the Remus 5 just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know why. Some things I just can't explain. I just sometimes have favorites, and other ones I just don't like them as much. But we're gonna get this one on the palate and see how she compares. Okay. That No. That Remus took it over. Well, okay. So, here's the thing. Is it great? Honestly, yes, it is. Uh, is it great if you're trying to get something to make a improved brothers bond? Not so much. Basically, cancels out all of my brothers bond in here. You can't hardly taste it anymore. It kind of tastes more like that sweet 1792, but add all the rye and leather tobacco notes from the Remus. Honestly, it's good, and I honestly think I might like it better than standard Remus. However, for my purpose of trying to improve Brothers Bond, not as great. But I think this might be the best one that I've blended so far. But I think we're gonna go ahead and try making a 4-grain next, as Sugar Kitty suggested, by mixing a wheated bourbon with a typical 3-mash bill or 3-grain mash bill. Interesting. Definitely interesting. I am going to go ahead and pour this one back in the bottle so I don't use all my Glencairns in one night. Otherwise, I'll have to wash them all. And everyone who has Glencairns and washes them definitely knows how much of a pain in the ass that is. So we're going to go ahead and grab the next guy here, which we're going to go with Maker's 46. I don't quite want to be blending my good stuff yet until I get to a point where I feel like I'm good enough at it that I can at least make something just as good as FAO2. But Sugar Kitty says Penelope is the same as a Brothers Bond. MGP Weeder, MGP Bourbon. That's their standard thing. Yeah. There's a reason why I love Penelope Architect, and there's a reason why I love Brothers Bond. They're just so good at what they're doing. And there's no reason why people should ever shit on MGP because it can be great whiskey, honestly. Not a very tough name, but it's good to hear. We mentioned Architect earlier. I like that better than some of their finishes. Yeah. Mixing bourbon and rye be easier. The note is different. Yeah. So I think I'd agree with you there. One thing that I'm having trouble finding is getting super complex differences between mixing just two simpler bourbons. I think adding a bourbon and a rye would allow me to make something completely out of the ballpark, unique and different. So I'm going to get to that point too. Man, typing in the dark is hard. MGP rye is great. So yeah, I would agree. And Remus is all MGP. It's actually MGP blended, like 5 different whiskeys from MGP all blended together. So we're gonna go ahead and add Maker's 46 to this Glen over here, and we're just gonna add a lot because I'm gonna pour it back in the bottle after, so I don't want it to get overpowered by any little bit of residue that was left from the Remus Repeal Reserve 5. So with Maker's 46, I'm thinking that one has a little bit of like a chocolate cherry and caramel with some breadiness in it. A good one to mix with that would probably be, let's see, cherry. Well, actually, wild turkey. Oh, I know. We're going to go ahead and grab the Bowman Brothers. And the reason I'm doing Bowman Brothers is it kind of has that Buffalo Tracy aspect to it, but it's also got a little bit of a more aggressive cinnamony like note to it. It's not overly sweet like the other Buffalo Trace products. Yeah, that's good. All right. So for this next one, we are going to be doing a 50-50 blend between Maker's 46 and Bowman Brothers. So we're going to be making a 4-grain whiskey here. We're going to see how it all shakes out. Maker's 46 is finished with French oak staves, so it's actually like a finished whiskey. and it offers kind of like lighter, sweeter notes, but still a little bit of that like chocolatey cherry, kind of like the Old Forester 1920. Not as high of a proof and not as dark of notes. It also has a lot of like fresh bread, and I always get fresh bread on makers, but even wheaters in general. Yeah. Um, yeah, fresh fruit actually. I just got some like raspberries in there as well, so that was really nice. And then the Bowman Brothers is kind of like normal Buffalo Trace, vanilla, strawberry, caramel, oak, and it adds a little bit of spice, like a little bit of cinnamon to it. So overall, I think these two should mix well. But I'm gonna go ahead. Actually, I'm gonna mix them before I get into the comments here. But we're gonna do 2 milliliters of Maker's 46, and we're gonna be doing 2 milliliters of Bowman Brothers. And we're gonna go ahead and let that mingle while I go through a couple more of these comments here. And this one will be interesting for sure. I love 4 grains. Obviously, when they're done well, they're awesome. But can I do them well? I'm definitely not a master blender, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm not a Maker's 46 guy, I discovered. Yeah, I don't know if it's the French oak finishing or the just a Maker's profile in general that people don't like sometimes from Maker's 46. But I personally love it. I think Maker's 46 is great. So maybe this will make it better, and maybe I'll convince you to try it someday. So not everyone likes the High West Double Rye with the young component in it. It's probably a good candidate to improve by making a Burr Rye. High West itself does that. Yeah, the High West Burr Rye, I think there's like a bunny with like antlers on it. I've definitely seen that around, but I'm pretty sure they don't make that anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, the only thing I'm concerned about is High West always gives me a really weird dill note, and while I like it sometimes, it's like very dill and caramel and eucalyptusy. I'm worried that the dill note is gonna ruin whatever bourbon I add to it. So that's giving me a little bit of wariness, but I'm probably gonna try it up next here. Dang, I need to go get a bullet. Bullet is fantastic. I honestly am so surprised that I don't have a bottle on the shelf. It was one of the first ones that I really started sipping on truly. It's just that I've kind of taken advantage over the years. I've had so many bottles of Bullet that when my last one ran out, I never bothered getting another one because I was too preoccupied buying all these other random ones. So I was going to suggest Elijah Craig. Whether you had just the regular or the barrel proof, Bowman is definitely a cinnamon thing like EC. Yeah, for sure. It should add a little bit of like pizzazz to the light and delicate Maker's 46, in my opinion. I think it should give it a little just extra zing to it. But we're gonna see how it plays out. If Sean was still here, he would be mixing Woodinville and Long Branch. Yeah, he likes his Long Branch too, that's for sure. Hanging AZ, that would be the ultimate punishment pour. Well, honestly, would it though? Because Long Branch isn't that bad. I mean, I had Long Branch at a bar once. Not that bad. I haven't had Woodinville. Uh, that would be an interesting one to say the least. I think I would like Long Branch for sure. It's easier to drink than Wild Turkey for people who don't like the harshness. Wild Turkey can be a bit aggressive, but um, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on your palate. The 46 is just a hot biter finish to me. Give it a week and try it again with AR. No help. Hmm. Yeah, honestly, I agree. I definitely agree. When I first bought my Maker's 46, I I was shook because I had it at a bar. It was awesome. I went and bought a bottle of it. I opened it up. Not impressed at all. Honestly, I was a bit disappointed. A couple weeks later, I drank it a couple times because it was one of the first ones I kind of bought. So I've been drinking it. A couple weeks later, I hadn't been at it in a while, so I decided to reopen it, try it out, and it was great. I mean, I thought it was amazing after that. So maybe it needed a lot of air. Maybe their batching isn't quite as good. But I really don't know the answer to that one. Where's my mouse here? All right. It's a joke thing on the bottle. It's just jackrabbit and antelope, so it's the mythical jackalope. Yeah, it's still made, but only available at the distillery. Okay, yeah. So I've definitely heard of a jackalope before, and I think that's super cool. I like people who put like that kind of stuff on their bottles. I'm a big sucker for cool bottle designs and stuff like that. So kudos to them. Hangout says a bullet rye is great. However, I do prefer Redemption. I actually really like Redemption as well. I had it in a bar once and I thought it was awesome. Don't have a bottle, but I will eventually get there someday. Sean hates his bottle of Woodenville, and Anthony over at Bourbon Neophyte hates the Long Branch. So that was kind of a joke. Okay, but I know that Sean likes the Long Branch, so that would be definitely interesting. And yeah, Bourbon Neophyte hates Long Branch. Well, I think some people might be clouded by the Matthew McConaughey of it all, and when I drank it, I thought it was all right, but that's just me. Sorry, guys, I had to. That was cringy and awkward, but I just had to. Sugar Kitty, joke if you will, but if you ever stare into the cold, dead eyes of a jackalope, you will understand. I do have the new Bill's recipe bottle. The new Bill's recipe bottle? What? What? I don't know. You'll have to explain that one to me, Hanging AZ, because I'm not sure what you meant by that. But we're going to go ahead and see how my 4-grain turned out here. Bready, for sure. That fruity, like vanilla strawberryness that I normally get from Buffalo Trace and Bowman Brothers is showing through on the nose here. That bready note, the bready note is completely from the Maker's 46, I believe. Lots of red fruit on this one. A bit of cinnamon. Almost smells like a mild wild turkey product. Honestly, the cherry is there a lot. I think the strawberry from the Bowman Brothers turned into a cherry. Added the bready note from the Maker's 46, but added the vanilla and super vanilla note from the Bowman Brothers, and a little bit of a hint of cinnamon from the Bowman Brothers, and that's turning out to be quite the nose. The only thing is a palate going to live up to it, because so far I've noticed that the noses all seem to be very nice, but the palates seem to die off a little bit, which is concerning. Okay. Oh. Honestly, I feel like I just made a 4-grain wild turkey. I mean, it tasted like Wild Turkey 101. I mean, it's got to be similar proof. No, not similar proof. Because these are both 90, 94, and 90. So a little less than Wild Turkey 101. But honestly, cinnamon, cherries, oak. The only thing that really was different, I would say, is it has like a little bit of a like fresh bready note that I get from Wheaters. And I love 4-grains and I love Wheaters. And I love Wild Turkey, so that's not half bad. I'm actually gonna give myself another pour of that one, because that was definitely something to be tried again. That's for sure. After this class, I'm gonna go and break into the Burai territory, and this is weird. This is interesting. Wild Turkey. I'm getting. Just bear with me for a moment here. What was this one? 1792, full proof. I swear to God, that tastes just like Wild Turkey 101. It tastes like Wild Turkey 101, except for the fact that it has a bready note in there, which I really like. I'm running low on the 101. Gonna have to get another bottle here pretty soon. Anyway. Okay. So a little bit amped down. I don't quite have enough in the Glen to really study and get a couple good swirls on it. So we're just gonna. This is just the 1-to-1 ratio between these two as of right now. I know I have the. I know I have the pipette out, but I'm not hardly measuring anything. This is something I did not expect to happen tonight. Maybe a little bit more aggressive on the nose. More proof, I think, is what that's adding up to. Okay. More aggressive, more proof, less sweet maybe, more balanced, more of a bready note, a little bit more sweet and light, but still very close. Forget how much I love Wild Turkey 101. Honestly, that's good. That is a good one. I'm gonna be drinking that one probably for a good while here. That was nice. So the Wild Turkey 101, obviously, it's a little bit more aggressive. It's got a little bit more oak spice, a little bit more proof. But the other one is just a little bit nicer. It's like Wild Turkey, but instead of being an aggressive Thanksgiving turkey who's trying to gobble your head off, it's more like the Thanksgiving turkey that has the hat and he's like villager, an immigrant. What's the word? Um, Immigrant, and he's kind of like takes your hand and brings you to the new world or whatever. But it's like the polite turkey. It's like a turkey that'll hold your hand and tell you it's going to be okay. Whereas wild turkey is a little bit more aggressive and punch you in the face. So that's definitely an interesting find out. I personally, I might like the mix better than the normal wild turkey. Okay. This is this weird. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and catch up on the comments here. To each his own. Some people clown the Vampire Boys whiskey. Yeah, for sure. Some people they they a lot of people do, but actually, I just watched an interview where Fred Minnick was talking to Ian Somerhalder, which is one of the co-creators of Brothers Bond, and Fred Minnick did a whole thing about it, and even he said that it was great whiskey for the proof point, the price, and like what they were accomplishing with it. It just hit the mark, and I agree with Fred Minnick. I mean, he obviously knows what he's talking about. Yeah, I've been saying it for a long time. Brothers Bond is just good. It's nothing blow your socks off. It's nothing special like that. But it's like it's just I gravitate toward it every time that I want to sip something. It's just nice. I bought one of those plastic jackalopes when I was a kid. I can't imagine staring into its eyes. Interesting. Make It 46 is in a new old bottle. Says 46 Bill's recipe on the bottle. I don't know about that. 46 Bill's recipe on the bottle is a new old bottle. I don't know. I don't understand. Does it have the nuts of wild turkey? That's a good point. Does it have the nuts of wild turkey? I don't get like all the nut in wild turkey. For me, it's like a light nuttiness. I know a lot of people say they get a lot of aggressive nut on wild turkey, but no nuts. Yeah, no. Not honestly, not nuts, but like the bread, that bready note could definitely be replacing the nuts. Like where I could see some people getting like nuts, maybe they could get like a walnut or like yeah, probably like a walnut where I'm getting more of like a bready note. Maybe like a pecan, but definitely not like peanuts, like wild turkey. I feel is a little bit more of like a peanut or a peanut shell. Wild turkey has a mouthfeel though, for sure. This one, that's one thing it's lacking is that like thicker mouthfeel, but it's still great nonetheless. It definitely doesn't feel like it's fighting each other like the first one that I mixed together. It's good. It's really good. That's good. Yeah, if you guys have those two, just give it a try. I mean, just do like half an ounce of each in your Glen. Tell me what you think. I think so. For those of you who weren't here or anyone, that is a 50-50 mix or a 1-to-1 ratio of Bowman Brothers and Maker's Mark 46. Makes a fantastic blend, in my opinion. Kind of like a lighter, um, friendlier Wild Turkey 101 is basically what I'm saying. So try it, and tell me how you guys feel about it. Hang Az says sometimes I mix Wild Turkey 101 with some more Wild Turkey. Yeah, I can make a burr rye with the Wild Turkey 101 rye and the Wild Turkey 101 bourbon, but the only problem with that is the bourbon has so much cinnamon that it tastes super rye, and the rye has so much cinnamon that tastes super like wild turkey bourbon. So it's like mixing the two of them together. I don't know how much of a difference that would make, but I know what you mean. That's funny. So with blending, does it help to keep the proof points similar? That's a good question because these two were really similar and they blended really well. The Brothers Bond is the lowest of the spectrum, and the Old Forester 1920 was high, and it was 115. The only thing that would negate that theory would be when I mixed the Brothers Bond with the 1792 full proof. That's 80 proof and 120 proof, and that actually mingled pretty well. I mean, comparably to the other things. So I don't think the proof matters too much. It's kind of like adding water to a mixture or to a bourbon. Um, Kind of just levels out, I think. So I don't think it would matter too much if the proofs were far off from each other. Did it remove the turkey funk? That is the best part. Uh, eh, See, the only problem is it's not wild turkey, so it doesn't have the turkey funk. The turkey funk is like, I mean, it's special to wild turkey, and yes, that is a something that makes wild turkey special. But my goal wasn't exactly to create wild turkey in the other one. However, it just was like a friendly homage to wild turkey. It reminded me of wild turkey while still giving me like lighter, sweeter notes. Yeah, honestly, like it's one that I keep making because it's just so damn good. I'm honestly surprised, to say the least. Was not expecting for these two whiskeys especially to make a 4 grain wild turkey that tastes good. No funk. Honestly, the nose is probably what varies the most between the two. It's there, but it's a bit varying. But the palate is much more similar than the nose. It's lost for words, lost for literal words on this one. Yeah, Mr. Whiskey Shits, welcome to it. Cheers, man. Thanks for coming on. Um, oh wow, lots of comments in here. I need to see that interview. Love those Fred interviews. Yeah, so he kind of does the same thing that I kind of said about Brothers Bond. The guys who made it love whiskey. They're coming out with cask strength, bottle and bond, a rye, a bunch of different offerings, and he kind of talks to Fred Minnick about all that kind of stuff. So it is interesting. You have the old bottle hold, and there's a new bottle, standard looking maker's bottle with a different. Oh yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about. It kind of like it looks fancier. Like I think I like this bottle shape better than a normal maker's bottle, but I think the bottle label, the actual label, kind of looks fancier. It's like gold or something like that. The writing is, which I think is cool. But I definitely like this bottle shape better. I wonder what happens if you mix Wild Turkey 101 and Fighting Cock at 103. Well, I'm guessing it would make 102 proof. No, but all seriousness, I haven't had Fighting Cock, so I wouldn't know. But I'm pretty sure Fighting Cock is that's a budget whiskey, right? So that would be kind of mixing two budgeters. Um, another thing that I haven't thought of is what if I try mixing some budget whiskeys together to make like a better whiskey, something more high class. Right now I'm mixing, I don't know, $35 whiskey with $35 whiskey. I don't know how much these are. I think it's like 35 and like 30 or something like that. 40, I'm not sure. But I'm mixing two expensive whiskeys to make a $20 whiskey. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I would never go buy these two and make one of these when I could just buy a Wild Turkey 101. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I like the 101 bourbon rye mix. Well, you know what? I'll do that right now. Wild Turkey 202. That's funny. Yeah, okay. So let me just get my ducks in a row here. This one was Bowman Brothers. Yeah, so this one is definitely 46. That's Bowman Brothers. So let me just kind of put them back in their bottles and grab the Wild Turkey 101 rye out of the back. And I'm going to mix those two together and see what kind of funky burr rye that makes. So Wild Turkey Bourbon 101 is going to be right there. And then we're going to go ahead and grab the Wild Turkey 101 rye and pour it into that blend. Okay, so the Wild Turkey 101 rye kind of has. Oh, I never noticed because there's usually that strip over the top, but the Wild Turkey cap has a little turkey on it. You can see that kind of cool. I had never noticed. Anyway, so the Wild Turkey rye kind of has a little bit of some lighter notes on it. It's more of like cinnamon, but with some like apple and a little bit of like maybe eucalyptusy, maybe like a green tea. Definitely apples. Maybe pears, apples and pears. Green tea, not black tea, but like a sweeter like green tea. Has a cinnamon. Very light fruitiness on the palate. I would say apple peels, or apple skins, I mean. Pears, a little bit of caramel in there, but definitely some like eucalyptus for sure. Herbaceousness, as Alec would say. Yeah, okay. We're going to go ahead and mix 101 bourbon with the 101 rye. 101 bourbon is a lot more of like a caramel, oak, cinnamon bomb. Had lots of cherries and like sweet fruity notes and a little bit of nuts and funk, and overall like it's really good. So I guess I'm curious to see, will the 101 rye take the 101 bourbon down a notch, or will it be an improvement? So we're gonna go just so I have enough whiskey in my mixing here. We're gonna go 4 ounces or 4 milliliters, sorry, of each. So there's 2 and 4. Okay. So this is a 1-to-1 mix between Wild Turkey 101 Rye and Wild Turkey 101 Bourbon. We'll get to that. Okay. I'm not clowning Brothers Bond. I have never tried it, by the way. Yeah, well, it's good. It's for sure. If you like really easy to drink, um, if you like really easy to drink Old Forester or Woodford Reserve or anything, Brown Forman. If you like really easy to drink Brown Forman products, buy some Brothers Bond. Give it a try. You might not like it because everyone's palate's different, but I personally think it is thebomb.com. You can't fake the funk. Yeah, no. The funk is what Wild Turkey specific. Yes, the name people give the Wild Turkey Burr Rye is Wild Turkey 202. Oh, okay, so it is a thing. Well, that would make more sense then, because initially on the nose, it smells fantastic. Maker's 46 cast strength is the best Maker's product I've had, best private selects and wood finishing series in blinds for me routinely. That is interesting. I haven't had the Maker's 46 cast strength. I've always seen it around, never picked up a bottle. I love the FAEO2. I thought it was fantastic. So, if you were telling me that 46 cask is better than FAEO2, then I'm an idiot for not buying it when I had the chance. I think I'm gonna, because I think it's like yearly or bi-yearly or whatever that it comes out, basically whenever they come out with a batch of it. And I just had it on the shelves not too long ago, and I think it's probably all gone. But maybe next time I see it, I'll definitely give it a try because, like I said, I like the other stuff, so that's interesting. Is that a George Clinton clone? We want the funk. Is that Kendrick Lamar? We want the funk. Yeah, it sounds like Kendrick Lamar. Scott Ian from the Anthrax was on Fred was a classic. Story about drinking with Lemmy. Never saw that one. Fighting Cock is around same price as Wild Turkey 101. Okay, so two budgeters making a hitter maybe. I have 9-year bourbon and a rye. It mix is good. Or might be good. Okay, so might be good. Yeah, so I've had the Knob Creek 9-year bourbon. I have not had the Knob Creek rye, but I've heard that it's really good. So I could imagine those two together would be really good. I guess I would just wonder if it kind of keeps that beam profile, like the nutty funk. I haven't had their rye, so I don't know how their rye is in comparison. Is it super different, or is it kind of like a nutty, funky, almost barely legal rye? I don't know. I do like both Woodford and Old Forester indeed. Any banana in Brothers Bond. Yes, banana galore. In fact, their whole thing was banana. I mean, like, their whole selling point was how much banana was in it. Not obviously not super overpowering, but banana bread to the fullest. It's a 4 grain. It's got that like bready note in it, but I mean, it's so sweet. Banana, like it feels like you're eating a fresh banana. It's just fantastic. It's refreshing. It's not high proof. It's just easy to drink. There's a lot of caramel, a lot of like sweetness. Uh, that bready, that nice like fresh bread nose. Lots of banana on the palate, like palate up front, all banana. So very good. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get this Wild Turkey 202 on the nose. Man, that something magic happened. The fruity aspects in these are mixing so well together. That it's gonna be hard for me to drink these separately, knowing that if I mix them together, they can taste like this. All right, well, I haven't had it on the palate yet, so I might be setting myself up for disappointment. But on the nose, these smell fantastic. That apple pear like light fruit note, it hits that cherry note, and it just like makes this like fruity baby that I just don't understand what kind of fruit it is, but it's just sweet and light. But that caramely note that's in them both is just powerful. The overabundance of cinnamon that I thought would be there isn't. It's not overly cinnamony. Um, It's not too herbaceous and it's not super rye forward on the nose, but it just smells tamed down from the aggressive wild turkeyness and more of like that nice wild turkey. It's still got the wild turkey funk and some nuttiness in there for sure, but that smells incredible. Okay. Okay. So, immediate on the palate. Cinnamon is back and ready to play. Um, the cinnamon that I was losing a little bit on the nose found its way to the front of the palate, right up front. Coming through, it kind of has that like caramely aspect to it, and a little bit of that apple that you get from the rye. But there's got like this oak spiciness that comes with the cinnamon, and on the way down, it has like such a like unique finish. I'm gonna go at it again. Wow, that is eerie. There's a little bit of vanilla in there too, but super like caramel. Maybe like it might actually be like a butterscotch. I'm thinking maybe on the butterscotch scale of things. It's super sweet on the palate, but with cinnamon and spice, and it's like nice and warm on the way down. At least a Kentucky hug. Honestly, guys, I think the winner of the night is the Wild Turkey 202. And the worst part about it is that I didn't even invent it. It was already a thing, and it was an idea from you guys, and apparently other people have done it, which I can't be surprised that they have because it's really good. It really is. But a close second was the Maker's Mark 46 and the Bowman Brothers. Like those two definitely were a surprise for me. The biggest surprise though is the fact that I couldn't quite get my brother's bond to be super improved. I think that these two together were good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I would consistently mix them together to make that every time. I think I'd rather just drink my brother's bond and 1792 separately. The other ones, on the other hand, I have a feeling I'm going to be drinking them together a lot more often. I definitely thought that was quite the experience between all of them, that it kind of like they mixed so well and created something new and interesting for me to try. It was really good, really nice. The Casey Rye. I missed one. I almost missed one. Oh, yeah, I'll go back. The Casey Rye to me almost tastes like a burr rye to begin with. I tend not to mess with it. It would mix. It would make mix. I would think mixing the two would just be a high rye bourbon. Yeah. So I guess I was kind of thinking earlier about mixing my Elijah Craig rye with like its Elijah Craig counterpart, which I think would be super interesting. But maybe next time, it's kind of getting to the end of my session here. But maybe next time I might do Elijah Craig rye with Elijah Craig. The only problem is the Elijah Craig rye is a barely legal rye, and the Elijah Craig, I feel like mixing them together would almost be making just a high rye bourbon. So we'll see how that goes next time. So, and AZ says I do like. Oh, okay. I did read that one. I did read that one. All right. Yeah. So that being said, in conclusion of tonight's live stream, I liked the Wild Turkey 202. That was by far the best. Wild Turkey 202, phenomenal. Makers 46 and Bowman Brothers, also fantastic. It's like a lighter, friendlier version of Wild Turkey 101, which I love. So between those two, I would call tonight a smashing success. The one that was kind of meh on was the Brothers Bond mixing with the other two. It was good. It was okay, but I don't think I would do it alone. So, Lauren Whiting says, hi, hello. Bubba, how's it going? She, that is my fiance. She was not able to be here tonight because she's still at work, RIP. But she must be home or coming home or almost home. But she'll be here shortly. But by then I'll have ended the video, or the live stream. I think really interesting next time would be Old Forester 84 and Old Forester Rye. They're very different. That's a good one. I'll keep that in mind. I'll have to get both of them before then. I've had them and they're great, but I just don't have the bottles here. But I'll probably those are nice and cheap ones, so I'd be able to do that pretty well. That's a good idea. I think I'll try it out. But anyway, I think that's the end of the live stream. Like I said, in conclusion, try Wild Turkey 202. Try mixing a 50-50 mix between Makers 46 and Bowman Brothers. That being said, this is the end of the live stream, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely leave some more comments after the video is over. Make sure if you guys haven't yet, hit the like button. I know I forgot to mention that earlier, but definitely hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you guys are not already subscribed. Anyway, that's the end of the live stream. I hope you guys have a good night. Definitely go check out everyone else's live stream tonight. Maybe I'll see you in the chat and we can all hang out. So, yeah, I hope you all had a good night. Thanks all for coming and cheers. I'll see you guys in the next class.